Okay, so I'm at McDonald's right now. I got here this morning. So the last video I think I posted was outside of this McDonald's, but it was in the morning yesterday. And I came in, charged my phone, sat down and started getting on my app in order to like bring everything up. Checked my other phone, which had my Cash App on it. And while I was doing all that and like waiting for it to load, I just fell asleep because I was so fucking tired. And I got woken up by somebody that worked here, and they were like, "Hey man, you can't sleep here. Sorry." And I was like, "No, I get it. I'm sorry. Can I buy something?" And he was like, "Yeah, absolutely." But they only have the kiosks open, and it was early in the first thing in the morning, so they were only taking credit cards. So, and I only had cash. So I ended up having to leave, and I wasn't able to charge my phones. They were at like 30% each. So I GPS'd a phone charging station and tried to, because some cities have that, where they'll actually have like places for essentially like homeless or business people or whatever to be able to stop and charge their phones. But the one that I looked up and following my GPS all the way, like I was walking all over the city and ended up finding the charging station, which like as I was walking, I was like, I bet it's for cars, but it ain't even for phones. And I was right. So after I was kind of bummed. Went walking back to like in the way that I had walked past an overpass, and that had a really big like area underneath it that was clear of anybody. So I decided to go and, out of the sun. So I decided to go and chill there for a minute. And I was pretty emotional. I was mostly just incredibly fucking tired. When I'm not getting proper sleep, I'm a wreck. I'm really highly emotional. I'm frustrated about things. Just can't think clearly. And that's really the thing I try to avoid too. Whenever I need a little bit of rest, I want to be able to get some. So I was just chilling there, and I didn't really want to fall asleep there either because I had seen that there was a no trespassing sign. There was nobody there, but I assume that was also because it was no trespassing. A cop passed by and saw me and didn't say anything or anything like that. I think just because I was keeping to myself, and I keep to myself. I don't I don't look like I'm like doing anything sketchy necessarily. I normally like take out my book and read my book. Just so that it doesn't look bad, like even when I was sitting out here making the last video, like waiting for the lobby to open, I got here at 6 thinking the lobby opened at 6 and they didn't open till 7. So I just read my book until then, even though I was so fucking tired. I didn't want to fall asleep out there because I didn't want to make them look bad, you know what I mean? So I was under the overpass, and a dude, it was right where I had walked to the charging stations was by this casino, the Horseshoe Casino. And so as I walked back under the overpass, a dude who worked for the casino happened to be walking back home, and he had just gotten off work, and he lived just a couple blocks away from the casino. So he happened to be walking home and saw me, and he came up and talked to me. He said that the spirit had made, like normally he wouldn't talk to people, he wouldn't mess with people that appear to be homeless sort of deal, but he just felt led to. And so he came up and asked me if I was okay, and I was in such an emotional state that like I answered that I was fine and that I was like handling things okay, but obviously was like kind of crying a little bit as I said it. And he was like, "No, I get it. Like everything's gonna be okay. Okay, like if you want some help, I can help you. You come back to my place. You can take a shower. I'll give you dinner. Like, but just know that everything's gonna be okay. Even if you don't want to come over, like I get it. Like I won't." I know I'm a guy. I know I'm a random stranger. I know that those things can be dangerous. I won't, he was very reassuring. Like I'm not, I just want to be able to offer help because I saw that you're in need, but like, I totally get if you don't want to accept it, but just at least know that you're going to be okay. I've been here before and I came up, and that's when he said, he was like, I was homeless in this exact spot just a couple years ago, and I'm in a better place now. And I know that you can be too. And he's like, I got to go back to work for a little bit. And then, because I don't know if he had to grab something or what, but he was like, I got to go back to the thing and then I'll come back. And if you're still here and if you want, you're welcome to come over for whatever you need. So I chilled there for a bit, kind of trying to figure my shit out. I was still in an emotional place for sure. Started thinking about my dogs, really. I miss Lily so much because but she's gone. Like, I put her to sleep, and it's one of those things that, like, man, I can still get emotional because it feels like I should just be able to see her again. But even with Maggie, like, I don't know how things are going to work out. I'm trying my best to get down to Texas as quick as possible so that I can get involved again, so I can get my own place, so I can get her back and get things rolling. But I'm not trying to force anything, you know, I just know that things are going to take time in a different way and stuff. I don't know. But I was getting real emotional thinking about them and just feeling bad about myself, essentially. I mean, I was doing an all right job, but it was starting to hit me because of how little sleep I had. And by the time he came back, I was like, yeah, I guess I'm going to take you up on this and we'll see where it goes, kind of deal. I mean, I try to trust my intuition, and when when it feels okay, you know, and then just keep my wits about me. I got a lot of knives on me. I got a mace, you know, you can see a couple knives, and I have a couple that you can't see. And, you know, so I keep myself protected that way. But he seemed okay. You know, I try very hard to, like, read people and give people the benefit of the doubt at the same time as, like, make sure that I'm not just blindly trusting people. But yeah, so I ended up walking with him. We walked back to his place. His place was really nice. He kept it really nice, really clean. You know, he was like, I rarely ever have people over, you know, and even the fact that I'd open up my house to you, like, is a big thing. And I definitely got that impression. And I really appreciate it. I mean, he literally he let me use the shower. He let me sleep. And he gave me dinner without asking anything in return. He's an older man who has early onset dementia. And so, you know, he's kind of struggling a little bit on his own. His wife had passed away 2 years ago. He had been living off of their double income. Both of them helped each other and worked together, and that's how they maintained everything. When she passed away, he got majorly depressed and couldn't keep up with his job, but also he didn't have her income anymore, so he ended up homeless, which honestly happens way more than you might think. Like, you know, people that are well off or seemingly well off or making ends meet and are living fine lives, you know, fall into hard times and very quickly end up in that position. And especially as an older man, too, you know, it was rough. He was homeless, he said, for about 4 to 5 months before he was able to get a job, start working, he saved up $1,500 to get the apartment that he has, which apparently here the shit is just way cheaper. I know it ain't in Austin, so, I mean, that was tempting to stay here, to be honest, too, because he pays $750 for an apartment that you would pay $1,500 for every month in Wisconsin. A nice ass fucking apartment, big, like a full, huge living room, real nice, large sized bathroom, full shower and bath, really nice sized kitchen, full shower, full stove, sink area, full counter space, cabinets, full fridge, also a washer and dryer in unit and a balcony, and then a really large bedroom with a pretty large closet even. And sorry, somebody's knocking on the window because I think they might got the front closed or something. I don't know. But yeah, so I mean, a really, really nice place. He was a really nice guy. He was having some issues himself, some health issues himself. So it's nice, like, to be in the position that I was to be able to help him. He woke up in the middle of the night having a really hard time, and I was able to be there and kind of rush around and grab him the things that he needed so that he didn't. I worked with Alzheimer's and dementia patients and stuff like that, and I've also just, like, dealt with people that, you know, have been through some shit, and, like, it might be from past drug use and stuff too, he said, but, like, he just, yeah, I mean, he was so kind to me, and he had ended up in a tough situation too, so him helping me allowed me to be able to help him, and both of us were blessed by that, you know. And, like, he had told me, like, you know, he had been helping people out since he'd been homeless. He'd been helping people out, and, like, multiple times he's let people stay there, and they've just, like, stolen from him, you know, robbed him of different things, just stolen money off of his counters and stuff. And I know for a fact it's true. And he just, you know, he didn't, like, he was like, I trust you, and I feel like I can trust you, and but I normally don't with people, and I have reasons not to. So, like, you know, please, like, be who I feel like you are, essentially. And, like, that's my pleasure, you know. I know that it takes a lot for for people to be willing to trust, especially a stranger, you know, and then especially somebody that's like from not even from there. You know, I am a transient person, and anytime somebody puts themselves out for me at all, it just, I appreciate it so much, because I know that even if I'm seemingly nice or trustworthy and stuff like that, like you really can't know with people. And I've fallen into those things. You know, you have to trust yourself, because you really, even the most well-intended person can end up fucking your shit up on accident, you know, or just like, you know, I mean, it's just easy. It's easy for that shit to happen. So I stayed with him. I was able to get a shower. I fucking slept, man, too. Like, that was the thing. I mean, he was so kind. He like let me have my own space while he did his own shit, and I fucking slept. And that's weird, because like I woke up this morning and felt like really good and like mentally, energetically, but also like kind of weird. I don't know if it's because I hadn't had caffeine in a minute, and I know that's so pathetic, but like, because my head is just feeling kind of weird. So when I got here, I decided to get a soda. I had a coffee, and I got something for lunch so that I could stay here this whole time, and they haven't bothered with me. I like, you know, cleaned up the trash. Like, when I see people come in and sit down, like a family had left like toys and a chicken nugget on the ground, and like some people had left like some straw wrappers and the receipts and stuff like that, and people left like their little table things, and so I just went and picked all that stuff up and everything. So like they've been kind to let me stay, but I've also tried to, you know, not take up space really, and to, you know, help out as much as I can anywhere that I am. That's kind of my whole thing too, is that like I won't stay somewhere for free. I won't take handouts. Like, I do have to offer to, like, I have to help in some way. So like this morning when I was at the guy's house, I woke up this morning, got myself together, got my shit together, and then did his dishes, cleaned the kitchen, cleaned the bathroom, just kind of wiped everything down and everything like that. And yesterday I'd helped him with the laundry. And that's just something that's easy enough to do. What I've been thinking is that as I go out now, that I'm trying to start a GoFundMe. A friend had suggested it. I'd been waiting on it for a while, because like, honestly, I've been nervous to let people, like, to post in real time, or to, I mean, I'm not trying to ask for help necessarily. The whole point of this was to show that anybody can do it. So that's what I've been kind of skeptical as far as like getting a GoFundMe, because, you know, me being a young white woman that's already networked so much, I have a benefit that way. I have a privilege that way. Like, if I do GoFundMe, it'll be easier for me to get support, I believe, than like just any other random homeless person. So that's something that I struggle with, because like I want to be able to show people what it's like for people out here, and like what it takes for them just to be able to survive the day to day, and how hard it is to kind of keep up on top of yourself through that. And I don't want to take any handouts as a means of like getting me out of a bad situation. So what I'm thinking with the GoFundMe, because like really my plan is to get to Austin, to reincorporate with the community that I was already a part of, that I've already been networking. I mean, I've been networking with some of these people for years, and then got into the community and stuff, and like reincorporating myself there to be able to get my own space. And then once I get my own space, to use it for community service, to be able to any of the homeless people, you know, any of the homeless creatives, and then also to do outreach for other homeless in the area, just to do community building, and not just to focus on the homeless. I also have a business plan really I want to make it nationwide, and put it up online so that any community can use it, building that curriculum, and happen to build a website that way with those things. That's still its own process. But when I have my own place, I want it to be able to be somewhere where like those that I already know that have been like feeling stuck because they want to do the things that I've done, they want to go out and do it, but they just fear it. I want it to be like a stepping stone for some people to like get themselves out of their hometowns and to have somewhere to go where like they can be cared for, they can be safe. Like, you know, I'll take care of people, but like also there's so much in Austin, so much in Texas really, but especially in Austin, where people can like kind of let loose and experience things and get out and really experience themselves in ways that they might not otherwise. And that's very important to me. And like I said, also just to help like within the community, like all of the creatives, you know, there's so many people that not just need a place to stay as they come in and are trying to build up, but also just need like the sense of support through things. I want my own space so that I can have the space to work out those things so that I can do all of that. Also, I mean, yeah, just all of it. I have like 5 business plans that I'm working out right now. And that's why, you know, it takes a lot. It takes a lot. It takes a lot to figure these things out. But man, every day, the communications that I have with people, the connections I've been making with people and shit, like, it's just it's helping cultivate like all of these things in such a real, practical way that I don't know if I would have. I'm so ambitious. It's hard for me to be practical sometimes, and like being on my feet, you know, being ground level with things, like talking to real people, those types of things. Like, it's really helping me to understand what it takes. And you know, on the train I mentioned it in another video, but on the train I had met this mom and her daughter. Her daughter is an incredible fucking dancer, beautiful, incredible, and she is only 12 years old, and she does all of her own choreography, and it's so beautiful. It's so incredible. I watched a couple of her videos, and like the way this girl dances, I mean, you can tell that like she's got it. She's fucking got it. Every way that she moves her body is just so intentional and so perfect and so beautiful. And to be only 12 and to have that is just awe-inspiring, to be honest. But then on top of it, apparently, like so many of her different photography, like she's done even herself and set herself up with it and just used the camera, set it up, and then done her poses and stuff with it, and then done the editing. She also has like professional photography, but she also like does her own editing or makes like her own TikTok video type things for it. And she's so incredibly talented, Also just like a cool person. But then she also like, she's a 12-year-old girl. She knows fucking Chinese, which like is huge, incredible. Like, I mean, so like her mom offered to let me work with her and to have her pretty much teach me like what she knows about photography and about doing stuff online. And like, it's such a huge opportunity, and I really want to take advantage of it. But at the same time, like, I just haven't necessarily felt like it's the exact right thing for me, and I don't exactly know why. There is like this push to continue to go to Texas and to kind of come back to this even once I feel more settled. But like, I'm aware that that's risking that opportunity. At the same time, like, it's such a beautiful opportunity, but I know that if I miss it, like, it's somebody else's opportunity in that way. And I think that that's fair. I think it was just being able just to meet her and her mom, like, I don't know. It really inspired me for a lot, because like, she's completely self-taught. You know, she's doing what I'm doing, only better, younger. It's so beautiful, and it gives me a lot of hope about the future, that like, not just that I can do this, but like other people are doing this shit too, you know? I fucking love it. So I've been trying to, I mean, St. Louis is beautiful, and on the train, that woman and her mom, or that woman and her daughter are from here, and then meeting the guy that let me stay with him, like, the people here are genuine and true. It's kind of like how I felt when I went to Baltimore, where like, I've been around, and like the community that I made or became a part of in Austin is ideal for me because of the creative aspects of it, because there's just so much I can do career-wise there, so much I can do, and I get along with people and stuff. But like, the people in Baltimore when I was there, like, it wasn't the sense that like that's where I needed to be creatively in any way or like that, but like, the people are just so beautiful, so real, so willing to like really see you for as you are. And like, they didn't, you know, I'm so used to being places where like segregation is, and like, not that there isn't that in Baltimore, obviously there's a fuck ton of that in Baltimore, but that's the difference too, is that like, that's coming from the people on top. The people on the bottom are no different than anybody else. Like, they really do, like, they're out there doing their real shit, you know, and like being real. And it's just huge, because it's so easy to like get into these well-to-do communities where people like, they're not real. They're not as real, you know, like they're following that system that I am in opposition to. And, you know, it's not that they're not real people. Everybody is real. But at the same time, like, what dictates if you're a main player or an NPC is if you are conscious to your reality or not. And like, there's plenty of people that are extremely well educated, that are extremely like capable in those ways of like having, you know, they make their money, they pay their bills, they have their life. Some of those people are self-actualized, and that's what it took to get to that point. But some of them are just playing that game just the way that the game needs to be played. They've sacrificed themselves entirely for it, and like in a different way. I'm sacrificing myself, obviously, to do this. It's a constant sacrifice, but it's not the same. I'm not sacrificing my identity. I'm building it, you know, like I'm not, and I don't mean to be judgmental, because truly, like, you know, people that do business and that make good money that way and stuff, like, I'm not saying that every single person that does that is a sellout by any means. For many, that is their identity, and they come from a place where those things weren't handed to them, and they worked very hard to have those things, and bless them for it. Bless them for it. I mean, it is essential to have. It's just I can't say for an individual what it is that they're supposed to be doing with themselves. And I assume that anybody that's done the work to get themselves into a better position, whatever that means for them, like, that's the greatest thing. That's all that you could ever ask for. It just always looks so different for different people. And like, in my experience, the type of people that benefit from that, or that like, that is the lifestyle for them, like, that it's a different breed of people. Where like the people that I tend to care for, like the people that I tend to like not affiliate with really, but like that I tend to like put my life into, you know, in a way, like those are people that like they're not coming from that same place. They're not going to end up being bankers and businessmen. You know, they're people that like, man, they might stay on the street. Like they might, you know, I don't know, they might never get off certain addictions and shit like that. And like, for me, that's what it's about, though, is like the people that have it the worst are the first people that our society throws away. You know, like they're the last people to receive their proper health care. They're the last people to receive like support for anything, because they're throwaways, you know, like, and I get it. I know a lot of people, like, especially when it comes to drugs and stuff like that, like it makes it hard, because then people aren't fully themselves, and they can't become fully self-actualized if they're relying on something else to make them feel a way. You know, but of course, like, that's also coming from me, who like, I spend a lot of time sober, but I also spend a lot of time as high as I can be on pot, and like, you know, that is a psychoactive drug that affects the way that you think. So like, I can't judge. I mean, there's literally been years in my life where like smoking was the only thing that kept me going. And like, you know, just because I decided to choose something that was less damaging, or like even less like influencing, that was a grace that I was given. I mean, when I was 14 years old, I was interested in this dude that I had met through my now sister-in-law, who was my best friend at the time. He lived in like the next city over, and I you know, he was just a big old sweetheart, really. But I loved that he was simple. He was funny. He was just so sweet, and he was a major pothead. But he also did like oxys and shit like that, and I didn't do anything with him. I just knew that he did that stuff. And then like, I was only 14 at the time, so I didn't even smoke pot. I didn't even smoke cigarettes at this time. I'd started smoking when I was 13, but I like didn't smoke regularly. And he asked me one time if I wanted to do heroin with him, and I was interested because I didn't really know about it. I kind of knew about it, but I really didn't. And because he was doing it, it seemed fine. So I told him yes, and that I would. And he ended up ODing like a week or two later before the next time I saw him, dying, and on heroin. And it was one of them things that like, at that, I likely would have been with him that time, you know, or like, had I had gone with him, you know, I very easily could have done just like way too much the first time I'd ever done anything and just OD'd that way. Like, or been on it. I mean, if I would have done it and not fucking OD'd, I would have stayed on it because I was in a weird place at that time. I was real fucking depressed and suicidal and hiding it pretty well at 14. So it wouldn't have been too hard to, you know, I was only 14. I was still in a Christian school. Like, I mean, so are my other friends that were on heroin. And people didn't really realize that that's what, you know, all of us were kind of about. I was so lame. I didn't like get invited to places and stuff like that, but like at the same time, like I was fun and I was accepting. So like, even though I was kind of annoying and kind of obnoxious, I didn't get invited to a lot of parties. Also, I wasn't allowed to go to them. So I always kind of stayed kind of lame, and I didn't do a lot because I was scared of getting punished by my parents. But again, like, I'm thankful for that too. I'm thankful for the discipline that they had because I didn't have any at the time, and I would have gotten myself in a lot of shit because every one of my close friends did. Every one of my close friends from that school did. I mean, literally the entire group of, and that's why, I mean, there was a lot of rumors going on about me at that time about the drugs that I was on, which I wasn't. But I understand because, like, literally all of my friends were sexually active and on drugs, which was not common for the Christian school, obviously. And I mean, that's like a whole nother thing. I mean, I've always been very exposed to things because of those that I've surrounded myself by. I haven't even had to necessarily engage in a lot because of how closely I've been engaged in things with the people that I'm close to. I mean, I've literally been there while people are doing heroin and I've just not done it. I've been there when people are doing crack and I've just not done it. Meth, I've just not done it. It wasn't always that way. There were plenty of times that people did things around me and I didn't even realize what was happening. But like, I mean, even just on this trip, I've been offered heroin and crack. I'm like, no thanks. No, I don't want to, but like, whatever it is you got to do, I'm not trying to involve myself with it though. Thank you. You know, and like even pot, I won't just smoke pot with anybody, especially nowadays with just with the way that people are. I mean, so many people are doing so many shit that like shit can just be laced just for their own fun, but like fentanyl is such a huge fucking issue and people are just poisoning people for the fun of it at this point. So like, I try to be cautious. I mean, I love pot. I would love to smoke all the time, to be honest. I look forward to being in a more stable position so that I can, and so that I can offer that to other people too, because I love being able to share in it with others. It's just such a way to connect. It's so fun for me. Like, it's so much better than drinking and stuff with people, in my opinion too, because like, well, most people when they drink way too much and get way too fucked up, you know, and like, I like to get like a buzz and get kind of goofy, but it's really the smoking. I just like the smoking. But that's what I mean. Like, I still do, you know, even like with as stoic as I'm trying to be about things, I still have my vices, and I don't even think that they're like necessarily vices. I don't think smoking is a bad thing. I think smoking is a bad thing. Let me recorrect that. Smoking is a vice, and it is something that I like to engage in because of the bit of destruction that I feel about it, smoking in of itself. But getting high on pot is not something I consider innately damaging for myself, perhaps for some, but I think it can actually do a lot of people a lot of good too. And I don't think that eating it is at all harmful in that way, depending on who you are. Obviously, everything isn't for everybody. I think the issue with smoking is the smoking is, you know, it's not good to burn something into your lungs. That's why I enjoy it. But it's also a different buzz when you just eat it. And like all these gummies and stuff I've tried, and like they just never, and I've tried like ones that are super, super potent that get people fucked up, and they don't really, sometimes I feel a little bit of a buzz. Sometimes they mostly just they're almost like CBD for me. Like, they make me feel real chill and nice, but they don't hit in the head the way that smoking does. And that's a problem for me too, because like I grew up, I started smoking when I was 16, but I like immediately was fiending for it, essentially. Like, I treated it like an addict would, where like I smoked as much as I possibly, I mean, my brother taught me to smoke, you smoke straight to the face as much as you possibly can. You can never get high enough. And I disagree. I've been so high that I've OD'd on pot. I've literally gotten so high that I have to throw up because everything is way too much and way too intense. I start salivating, start feeling all types of nauseous and weird, and you know, It hasn't happened in quite some time, but it's happened. And I've heard from other people too that it's happened for them. So, you know, I think everything in moderation, for sure. Anything in moderation, rather, not everything. You don't have to do everything, but you can do anything in a certain amount of moderation. And it's really for the individual to decipher what that moderation is. I don't need any heroin. I don't think anybody necessarily does, to be honest. But then you consider what we've done with opiates medicinally and how much it's also driven so many people just straight into drug addiction, to be honest. Really, I think sometimes it is life-saving because of how traumatic certain healing processes can be in of themselves, that like you really do need like strong as fucking painkillers just to be able to heal, because otherwise your body will be way too far in shock from like surgery or from the healing process itself that you won't be able to maintain it. But at the same time, my experience with that is that like I never even really took much Tylenol or anything growing up at all. Did not like taking medicine. We didn't really believe in it. And then when I had knee surgery in 2019, 2020, something like that, I had knee surgery at the beginning of the year. And I was on oxys they had me on them for like almost a month, or for like 3 weeks or some shit. And I took them for like a week and a half or 2 weeks before I was like, I can't take these anymore. These are really making me awful. I mean, they were making me sick. They were making me they were making me feel like shit if I wasn't on them. Like suddenly my pain was so much worse when I wasn't on them. They're also like, I just like wanted to get high on them all the time. Like I couldn't even feel them, but I like wanted them, which I really was uncomfortable with. And I also was like, they were like making me super short fuse, super like I was a dick. I was like just irritable and like feeling all fucky like that. Just feeling achy and gross when I wasn't on them. And then that would only last for a minute. But then on top of that, I actually started hallucinating off of them one day and had like this out of body experience that we'll have to talk about at some point. But like that shit was crazy. And after that, I was like, I don't want to take these anymore. I thought I almost OD'd. I was like, I don't want to take these anymore. I don't need any of this. I'll just heal however I need to heal. So I guess that's the thing too, is that like, I like to think that everything under the sun can be used for good, but it's about what we do with it, and how we use it. And like, I don't know, I've known people that did heroin and then got off of it, and like the people that they are now, like as fucked up and crazy as that may seem, like that was part of their destiny in order to become who they are today. Like like part of who they are today is somebody who fought that and overcame it. You know what I mean? And like, that's a power. So it's not, I can't define any of those things for people, and I try really hard not to. I try not to judge people, like, with what they do with shit. What I can judge is, like, how somebody's taken away from themselves. And even then, I don't judge it. I just try to, like, encourage people to sorry, these people are trying to get in, but I don't know. I try to, I don't like seeing people hurting themselves, you know what I mean? So it's like one of those hard things where it's like, there's such a fine line. My friend who's an alcoholic, who like, I can't blame him. He used to be a heroin addict. He got off of heroin, but alcohol is like, truly even harder to kick. It is in every way, really. It's more accessible, which makes it harder to kick, but it's also like physically harder to kick. You'll get super sick when you try to get sober from heroin, but alcohol will literally kill you. Not drinking it, like if you've been on it for so long. And he woke up in the morning so fucking sick because hanging out with me, he was trying not to drink as much as he normally would, and his body couldn't handle it. It literally like needed the alcohol that much. Like that's how far gone it is, to the point where like he was so sick, like throwing up from not having alcohol, had the shakes, sweating, like almost passing out, like not able to walk, just an absolute wreck. Which is, I was like looking up, like, what can I even do? What can I offer that isn't alcohol that will help you, even if, and like, cause I'll sit here with you and like go through the struggle if that's what it takes in order to get something better into your system. But there just comes a point where like you need actual hospital care. Because just trying to stay hydrated enough, trying to get food down, trying to get certain vitamins in and stuff, like it ain't enough. You need to be on like an IV drip and shit. And even then, you know, a lot of people still go brain dead or shit after the shock of the withdrawal of alcohol. So I wasn't trying to fuck his shit up, and I really didn't know what to do at that point. So I got him a bottle of wine in the morning because it was the only actual alcohol I could find. Well, not like aside from beer, you know, but beer wasn't going to cut it, obviously. So I got him a bottle of wine from Walgreens, and that helped at least enough that he could like function somewhat. But within the matter of even just a couple hours, he needed to drink again. We went to the bar and he had 3 shots, and then of, I don't know, gin or vodka or tequila or something clear. And then maybe 2 hours later, he got a bottle of vodka. And so it was just one of those things where like there was a line where like me getting the wine, like it seemed essential, it seemed like what I had to do, but it wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do. It put me in a really conflicted position. And he understood that, and he apologized for it, and he thanked me for it, because he knew that it was for me, but at the end that it was coming out of love and care. But at the same time, like I was like, I can't just enable you, and I can't actually help you. You need to help yourself, whatever that means. Like if you need to go to the hospital, that's what it is. And he just wasn't there yet, you know, sort of deal. And then it got to the point where like I think it kind of hit him, maybe just how different we are. Like at the same time, like the same thing, like it was easier for me to sleep outside and be homeless and be in these situations because I was mentally able to handle things better than he was, because of the alcoholism or because of the drug use, you know. And like he's such a stoic person and such an incredibly intelligent person and such a strong person, and so I think it was hard to see that reflection. And we talked very seriously about things, and we had some hard conversations, and I'm so thankful for him. It was just hard, and we got to the point where I was like, I can't actually do this for you, you know. And he understood. I mean, he's such a sweetheart. It just hurts. I hate to see that for people. I hate to see where it's like, you know, there's that fine line, like, okay, so you require, like, you're so far gone in this thing that, like, there's bits of it that, like, you still have to keep up it's inevitable that's what it's going to be, even as you're moving towards healing. But, like, you have to actively be moving towards healing, or it's all for naught, essentially. You know what I mean? Like, otherwise you're just suffering for nothing. I mean, if you're that far gone with drinking, and drinking is the only thing that keeps you from suffering, and you really don't actually plan to stop drinking, then like stopping drinking for periods of time just to make people happy is really just adding to your suffering, unless you're actually trying to heal, in which case like you have to be able to, you know, like when I quit smoking cigarettes, it was fucking hard as hell because I love smoking. I just love that feeling. It wasn't even the nicotine, it was the smoking so much. Like I love the burning in my lungs, and I tried to replace cigarettes with smoking more pot, which is fine to a degree, except that like I only ever wanted to get so high, and it just wasn't the same. You know, you can smoke cigarettes so much more casually than you can smoke pot. So I found it hard in the same, you know, the habits that I had built with it. There were certain things that I basically only did while smoking. So that made it hard when I wasn't smoking, because then all of a sudden I found that like part of my lifestyle my whole lifestyle really ended up changing, but like there are parts of my lifestyle that I hadn't even acknowledged like that suddenly I had to change, and that's weird. You know, it's hard to, sorry, that's the people that work here. I don't know, but like even that, where it's like when I decided that I wanted to quit, what that looked like was every moment of every day me recommitting to that. every moment of every day, every time that I felt the tiniest little urge to smoke, I had to remind myself, you don't do that anymore. That's not what you're doing. Do something else. Find something else. Since then, I actually have like applied myself differently to different hobbies. I've gotten better at different things, but it took actively putting myself in that position and being like, nope, you're not going to do that. You're going to do this. It wasn't fun. It wasn't easy. I mean, it's the same thing as any diet. Quitting fast food is the hardest fucking thing for me, even more than caffeine. Not eating fast food, and it's just like, not eating fast food is so bad for me. I mean, it has to be how I imagine some people are with drugs or even cigarettes and shit, because like, I will literally eat an entire meal at McDonald's and then 20 minutes later be like, fuck, I told myself I wasn't going to do that anymore. You know, like I won't even realize until after the fact. So I can't judge. I can't always help everybody either. I can help myself as best as I can, and then I have that example to work with. And I try to be cautious as to like if I'm enabling people, or like if I'm helping people. You know, there's such a fine line, and it takes knowing yourself and knowing people. And yeah, like even knowing yourself, like there's, you know, ways that you can help people and ways that you can enable them just on your own. Like, you have to set those boundaries for yourself too. When you set boundaries, like that's the whole point too. Like, you're not doing it just for you. Like, you do it for everyone that's affected by you. The person that I've become in order to try to be like as trustworthy as possible is not just for me, it's also for those that are willing to trust me. Like the dude that helped me out, you know, he's put himself out for other people before, where they ended up literally he was like, okay, I'm gonna go to the store real quick, you're fine here? And they're like, yeah. And then he came back and all of his shit had literally been stolen because they called somebody in to come grab his shit and they took all of his shit. Like, you know, that kind of stuff happens. And so to be able to be somebody that's trustworthy isn't just good for me, it's also good for those that put themselves out for me, because they can feel truly blessed by that. And like, that was a big thing too. I never used to ask for help, and I'm still not necessarily trying to ask for it, but I am trying to be open to receiving it. I used to push against that because it was a pride issue. No, I don't need anything. I can do it myself. And all I was doing was keeping people from being able to bless me. You know, how dare I? No, I can bless you and I can put myself out for you, but you can't bless me. You know, no, that's, you're like, what is that not worth it for them? Like, and then what is it that I think I have to give that's so much more valuable, sort of deal? I didn't really look at it like that. I wasn't thinking that it was like that, but like, it truly is a pride issue. Like, and it's, you know, to be able, like, you know, that's what I told this dude. We're like, he's helped people that have hurt him in return. I've been in that position. And so to be able to let him be a blessing to me while I could actively bless him too, you know what I mean? Like, it's a blessing for both of us. That's how things should be. That's how things are supposed to be. And like, it don't come easy. And it's not like we're constantly at risk of making wrong decisions or giving, you know, energy to the wrong people or to the wrong things and stuff. I mean, this is all a process. Everything is always a process. You can't look at somebody else's process and let it dictate your own. You can't compare yourself. You're not trying to compete with other people. You're trying to compete with yourself. You're trying to your path is never going to be somebody else's. So like, as much as you can look at somebody else, like that's my whole thing. Like, I want to be an example, but as much as anybody could look at what I do, like, even in the situation, even another homeless person or another person in need looking at me and seeing how I work through my need, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what is going to work for them. You know, I've worked very hard to be in the position I'm in where like, I am on top of my addictions. That isn't easy. That hasn't been easy. And so much of it comes from the fact that I just don't have the money for it. You know what I mean? If I could, I don't know. If I could afford it, well, definitely with the fast food. Definitely with the fast food, that's a hard one. I definitely would just, and being out in this position, obviously, like, it's not like I can cook for myself and shit. So like, I don't know. There's always those balances. And like, I don't know, man. That's a whole thing about it. Like my friend, you know, my other friend who's been struggling with her drinking, you know, in the past, it's been so much worse, and she wasn't healed the way that she is even now. So like, she made worse decisions where like, now she can still drink that much and not make those decisions, but like, it's still not good for her to be drinking, and she knows that, like that. But then there's also a place where like, it's not the worst thing and it's better than other things. And like, It's really just about how you do it, like the moderation of it, and like what goes on about it, and how it affects other people, and how you handle those things. I mean, there's so many things to it where you just can't judge things so innately. And like, I feel so bad when people, like, it's so easy for other people to look at people and be like, well, your addiction is the reason you're so fucking awful. But like, there's not a single person I've ever met that's addicted to shit that got that way just because they're awful. People are hurting. People are broken. People have been hurt and broken. You know what I mean? Like, they need healing. You know, generally speaking, all of that shit, it's a coping mechanism. It's what people are going to in order to feel okay, because they don't know any better, or because they don't feel like they're capable of any better. And like, that's the worst part about drugs, is because like, they really do affect you in a way where like, you really won't feel like you're capable of anything more. Even pot will demotivate you in such a way where like, you're totally just fine getting high all the time, not doing shit with your life, and you wouldn't even notice unless you got sober for a minute that like, you ain't doing fucking shit with your life, because you're fine. It makes you feel fine, you know? And like, that's the issue with like self-medicating. I don't think you should. I don't think you should self-medicate. I don't think it's healthy. I think a lot of people trick themselves into thinking that it's okay when it is something just like pot, but like, that's not any different than self-medicating with anything else. And honestly, like, the amount of times I've self-medicated with fast food, not once has that been healthy. Not once has that been the better alternative. It's like, the times that it's okay to eat fast food is when there's no other option, when that is the thing, and then you bless your food, you receive it with gratitude, and then it's good for you. It's in the receiving of things and gratitude. So if you're actively using something to try to tell, you can't be thankful. You can't be truly thankful outside of yourself. Gratitude is something that comes from within. It comes from the capacity to be able to alchemize anything into gratitude. You know, it's easy to alchemize a gift given for free that is exactly what you've always wanted. It's easy to be thankful for those things. But gratitude, you can be just as thankful for something like that you can be for literally like somebody trying to do you harm, and you finding strength through that experience. You can find the same exact gratitude. It comes from within you. And you can't cultivate that using external sources. You have to find that within yourself. There's not, you know, like with a child, like your parents can tell you like, say thank you. But like, if you aren't really thankful, like, it isn't going to be something that just comes out of you naturally. You can train that into people to the point where like, now they are thinking about it anytime they're given something. So they do want to thank people for it. But that still comes from within them and their capacity to be willing to do that. There's some people that straight just will not be thankful for things. But in my opinion too, in my experience, like, being able to be grateful, being able to appreciate shit has been the key to happiness. And I genuinely have happiness. Like, it's not all the time. There's plenty of hard times and I get down on myself and stuff, but I'm in such a different place than I've ever been. I mean, man, I had depression since I was a child. I've had suicidal ideation since I was a child. The first time I tried to kill myself, I was 8 years old. The second time I was 12. Then I started cutting, which wasn't a way to kill myself. It was a way to just hurt myself. My parents found out when I was 16. My dad made sure that I knew exactly the right way to kill myself. You know, you don't walk across the street, you walk down it if you want to make sure that you get hit by a car, referring to me cutting myself. Then I started having sex and was using sex just to hurt myself. And I didn't actively start trying to kill myself again until I was 24. And then between the time that I was 24 and, I'd stopped cutting by the time that I was 17. And then when I was 24, I started cutting again until I was 26. And when I was 26, after I stopped cutting, I immediately started trying to kill myself again. At that point, I was receiving professional mental health care, had been put on antidepressants and anxiety medication, and was abusing them with alcohol. Well, I wasn't just actively doing that. I would get to the point where I wanted to kill myself, and that's how I tried to kill myself a couple times, several times. My ex found me, or was there at the time, caught me, you know, was able to stop me, bring me to the hospital. And then I'd be hospitalized, you know, for a period of time in a mental hospital. And then the last time that I tried to do it was in 2018, right before Christmas. I tried to hang myself with Christmas lights after destroying the entire house. And, yeah, I was fucked up. I was really fucked up. And it kind of seemed like it just continued to get worse. So then I got out of the hospital, and I started to do better because I wasn't like, I mean, I had tried 4 times at that point. Normally I stop at 3. And at that point I tried 4 times, and I was like, okay, I got to figure out something else. It's like, if I can put this much energy into trying to kill myself and it ain't fucking working, I might have to just start putting my energy into trying to live better. And I actively did. I mean, it seemed like it was my only option at the time. So I did, and but I was still dealing with that depression. And then it really fucking hit in 2020 because I'd hit the age 30, and then hit 31. And by 31, I became older than my dad had ever been, because my dad died when he was 30. And that shit hit just in a weird way. And I started drinking. I was hoping that it was going to bring me down in my depression, that I was finally going to be able to do the thing, you know, to off myself. And I was drinking a bottle of whiskey a day, a liter of whiskey a day. I went from literally never drinking, like maybe getting tipsy a couple times a year at social events, to being in my house by myself drinking a bottle of whiskey a day. I was still going to work. I was still doing my shit. I was still getting 5-star reviews, and I was fucked up. But it also made me realize that, like, I actually liked myself. I actually learned through drinking that I liked myself more than I ever thought that I did. I actually enjoyed being alone, and enjoyed entertaining myself and just being a goofball and not caring about anything. And it was honestly beneficial for me at the time. I just needed to quit, because I was on it for 3.5 months that I was just drinking every fucking day, all day long. And then it took like 3.5 to 4 months for me to, after I quit cold turkey, it took that long for me to come back to any sense of clarity at all. And I didn't know if I was even going to be able to do that. So, I mean, I've been there. I've been places, and it's by, you know, the grace of the universe that I have been able to get myself out of those positions too. I mean, it's all come through faith, to be honest. It's all come through me just like being willing to put myself aside and do the thing. And like, yeah, my struggle comes in when I start thinking too much about myself and start trying to do things myself. But like, when I let go, man, everything continues just to get better. And my life since 2020 has just been progressively getting better and better. So I want to be able to share that with the world, these things with the world, not because of me, but because I want people to be able to have access to the same type of happiness, the same type of freedom, you know, of themselves and through themselves and for themselves. I got 10 seconds left, so I'm going to stop this.